Hold on one second. We're about to get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. This don't make no sense whatsoever. Welcome to the Dark Waters channel, where we explore mysteries, figure out the truth, dive into politics, and anything else you want to know about. That's what we doing over here, baby. Let's go. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? And one and only James Williams, Dark Waters, and I'm back. And I'm here to talk about, that's controlled opposition. You know, in my previous video, I talked about this fake purity test that everybody has for everything. And I was referencing the Sanders family and how there's this purity test for Shedeur Sanders. Well, he's arrogant. He's materialistic. Never mind the fact that every kid and these are young men, who went to the NFL draft had some form of bling bling on. But nonetheless, that's of the same culture he had. They all were flashy. But nonetheless, you can't tell crazy people stuff like that because they see it through their own eyes. And this is another sacred cow that we have, which is this psychological operation of controlled opposition. And what's amazing to me is the people who call themselves like awaken to the reality of the deep state don't understand that when you start accusing people of being controlled opposition, you're actually doing the work of the deep state, when the actual real controlled opposition is right in front of you. So, for example, you take an Alex Jones, who's been sued to oblivion. They tried to murder him. They tried to break into his house. Alex is controlled opposition. Or you take a Tucker Carlson, same thing. Astro projected to his house and scratched him up. Had to move out into the country. He's controlled opposition. Lost his job at Fox News, but he's controlled opposition. When the real controlled opposition is a lot more simpler than that. It's a lot more easy to see. But everybody wants to go into the kind of hidden things, but ignore the things that are right in front of them. And that's why we get our butt whipped. That's exactly why we get our butt whipped. For example, I mapped out some controlled opposition today. And it's really simple. Want to see controlled opposition? I'll show you some controlled opposition. Malcolm Jenkins. Anthem protester, BLM activist Malcolm Jenkins praises Jalen Hurts for skipping White House visit. Now, to be clear with you, I sat on a board with Malcolm Jenkins of a nonprofit, and the Malcolm Jenkins that I spoke to back then was not this radicalized. This is in 2009. He was not this radicalized. Former NFL champion Malcolm Jenkins has praised Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts for skipping his team's Super Bowl victory celebration at the White House. President Trump welcomed the Philadelphia Eagles to the White House on Monday, but Jalen Hurts was not in attendance due to alleged scheduling conflicts. In an article on Substack, Malcolm Jenkins, who protested the U.S. national anthem and declined his invitation to the White House after winning the Super Bowls with the Eagles in 2018, praised Hurts for positioning himself as a selfless leader. Now, watch how foul this is. Jalen Hurts never came out and said, I'm not going to the White House because I don't want to meet with Donald Trump. He said it was a scheduling conflict. So what he ended up doing to Jalen Hurts was throwing him into the fire. So Jalen Hurts is now, his name is being automatically associated with this. I've never heard Jalen Hurts say anything. I could be wrong. I know Jalen Hurts to be a strong, super strong Christian quarterback. But nonetheless, he solidified himself as a selfless leader, willing to risk comfort to honor his values, Jenkins wrote. He strengthens his integrity and cultural capital in a way few athletes ever achieve. He shows the next generation what it looks like to stand on principle, not just play for applause. He joins a tradition of athletes who use their peak to push conversations forward, not to shy away from them. Leadership today isn't just about leading a team, Jenkins added. It's about leading a conversation. Jalen Hurts, whether he realizes it or not, just entered the conversation at the highest level. Now, I'm interested in seeing what Jalen Hurts has to say. There's nothing there about Jalen. Now, while we have Malcolm Jenkins speaking for Jalen Hurts, not Jalen Hurts speaking for himself. Remember, this is in the context of controlled opposition. The BLM movement was controlled opposition. You can't say it wasn't. At this point in time, we saw the funding. We saw the money that went into it. We saw that it was Soros founded money, and we saw that it was USAID funded money. So when you want to talk about controlled opposition, BLM was controlled opposition. So much to the point that BLM crashed when the reality started to hit the activists inside of BLM that the Democratic Party wasn't going to do a freaking thing from them at all. And then they turned on the Democratic Party. But for that snapshot in time, under the right circumstances, with the right weather, the right situation, the right injection of capital, they became controlled opposition. But nobody wants to call it controlled opposition. No. Nobody wants to talk about the reality of what controlled opposition is. Controlled opposition is controlled. BLM is no longer controlled opposition. You want to know why? Because they no longer have any control of BLM. So for a moment in time, maybe a 3-year period, they were absolutely controlled opposition. Now, Malcolm Jenkins, unfortunately, is living in that moment, but it makes sense because if I'm not mistaken, that's a Q-Dog tattoo on his arm. That means he's a member of the Boule as it is. So I don't see him not being controlled opposition. Now watch. On the contrary, we have Saquon Barkley. It says, LOL, some people are really upset because I played golf and flew to the White House with the president. Maybe I disrespect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. Just golf with Obama not too long ago. And look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now, y'all can get out of my business is basically what he's saying. Now, watch this. Somebody will come out and claim that Saquon Barkley is controlled opposition. I'll say this about Saquon Barkley. Who do you think has the most leverage to actually invoke and provoke change for their community? The clown who was sitting on the sideline pointing fingers, I'm not going to meet with him, or the person that engages in the conversation? The person that plays golf with the president. I think it's a man that plays golf with the president that has more of an opportunity to provoke change for the quote-unquote community that they from. But this spilled into, later on, it spilled into having a black wife versus a white wife. And it just, they've taken this and ran out of control with it. But when we start talking about controlled opposition, here is a prime example of controlled opposition, and his name is Malcolm Jenkins. Point blank, period. No, DW, you don't have no evidence that he controlled opposition. Bro, it doesn't benefit him in any way, shape, or form. None of this stuff is benefiting him. In fact, Malcolm Jenkins has a problem with Donald Trump. You ain't hear Malcolm Jenkins talking about addressing none of the stuff with the illegals going into our neighborhoods, tearing up our neighborhoods, into the hood. You ain't hear nothing about Malcolm Jenkins coming out fussing about the mass immigration with sexual assaulters in the neighborhoods. No, you ain't hear none of that. And that's how you can tell the difference. Like if you're a true activist, it don't matter who in the White House. You standing on business. And if you for your community, when you see something that's out of place for your community, then you speak up. It don't matter who there. None of that matters. Don't matter if it's Obama, don't matter if it's Biden, don't matter if it's Trump, don't matter if it's Bush. You're going to be consistent. Simple fact that his move into being an activist started with BLM lets you know, well, that's not right. That's me lying. That would be incorrect. That would be a lie. Because he was in organizations that helped the community prior to. So that would be me lying on the man. I'm not a liar. But the simple fact that he became so outspoken doing BLM lets me know that he's been captured. I think that's the best way to put it. Let's talk about some more controlled opposition. Biden appointed judge. Here it is. Biden appointed judge blocks Border Patrol from arresting suspect illegal aliens without warrants. So, you want to talk about controlled opposition? Here it is in front of you. Let me get this straight. So, a person who's here illegally, who broke the law, I need to get a warrant for you because you broke the law and you're here illegally? We've read the section 503, whatever it was. Ain't none of that in the code as it pertains to it. So she should be arrested. United States District Court Jennifer Thurston, appointed by U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of California by President Joe Biden, is blocking Border Patrol agents from um, across most of California from arresting suspected illegal aliens unless they have a warrant for their arrest. This week, Thurston issued a preliminary injunction that will prevent Border Patrol agents in California's Eastern District, the largest judicial district in the state, from carrying out arrests of suspected illegal aliens without a warrant and halting such arrests unless agents have reasonable suspicion that the suspect is an illegal alien. Indeed, the evidence before the court is that the Border Patrol agents under DHS authority engaged in a conduct that violated well-established constitutional rights, Thurston wrote. Border Patrol is enjoined from conducting detentive stops in the district unless pre-stopped the detainee agent has reasonable suspicion. Border Patrol is enjoined from effecting warrantless arrests in this district unless pre-arrest the arresting agent has probable cause to believe that the non-citizen arrest is likely to escape before a warrant can be obtained as required by USC 1357, blah, 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 emphasis added. Let me tell you this. That's the code I was talking about. That wasn't in the code. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. But watch this. This comes on a tail end of them releasing this illegal alien that murdered somebody, and he went to jail for 2 years, right? I don't know if you guys remember this. And then Holman saying, hey, we're going out there to California to get him. And so here she comes with an injunction. She should be arrested.
The morale of ICE and Border Patrol is at all-time high because they're getting to uphold the oath they took, and they're enforcing the law. Border Patrol and the Biden administration, I met with hundreds of them. They felt like Uber drivers and tourist agents. These men and women joined the ranks of ICE and Border Patrol to enforce the law, make the community safer, and protect national security. I hear it all the time. There's a lot of people in this country who don't like me. I don't care. But when I walk to an airport, I have many people walking up to me and thank me for what I'm doing, and I'm not taking credit for anything. The success of the border and immigration enforcement is President Trump and the men and women wearing that uniform. God bless each and every one of them. But I take a pleasure in seeing it because in 40 years of doing this job, people always want to say, why are you so emotional when you testify? Why are you so emotional on network? Because if they wore my shoes for 40 years, they'd understand why I'm emotional. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by the cartel members. And when you get to your knees and you talk to that little girl and everything innocent and pure has been ripped from her, when you listen to the Laken Riley, 17 minutes, that young lady fighting for her life, don't just think, okay, a young woman died. Think of how she died, the terror that she went through, and these children that are sexually assaulted. I stood in back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime.
Sure, like.
So every sick person we take off the streets, especially child rapists, it makes this country much safer. Every illegal alien we arrest, public safety threat, one at a time, makes this country safer.
And I'm going to say this. You want to talk about controlled opposition? It's all over the place. This is an entire battle where controlled opposition has been moved in place, and it's been set up by Soros funding, and Wall Street is being controlled opposition as it pertains to tariffs. Soros is controlled opposition. The Democratic Party is playing controlled opposition. The rhinos are controlled opposition. It's all controlled opposition. The far leftists are controlled opposition. And it just amazes me that people sit there and say, well, such and such is controlled opposition, James. You don't know what you're talking about, Oak Waters. You're controlled opposition. Yeah, you're controlled opposition. You sound crazy. I mean, think about it, guys. Think about it. You don't think that judge is controlled? You don't think Nancy Pelosi is controlled? You don't think Chuck Schumer is controlled? AOC is controlled? I mean, if we're going to really talk about controlled opposition, let's just keep it real. They're all controlled opposition. And the real question is, who are they in opposition to? Are they in opposition to Donald Trump? Quite frankly, no. They're in opposition to you and your future and your family. Want to know how we know this? Because these are the same people that opened up the border and flooded us as soon as Donald Trump was out of office. That indirectly affect Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. Well, nobody climbing over the fence and going on to the Mar-a-Lago golf course. They was going into your neighborhood, into your backyard, into the schools where your children are. And it's a perspective that bothers me because people just have such a backwards perspective on things. I'm a conservative and so this is a controlled opposition. I remember there was one guy that's like, Officer Tatum is controlled opposition. I was like, wow. Wow. Officer Tatum is controlled opposition. Okay. All right. I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, anybody who's watched him go from zero to where he is now. But hey, it is what it is. Moving on to more controlled opposition. We want to see controlled opposition? Here is controlled opposition on our northern border. Mark Carney claims election victory, warns Canadians Trump is trying to break us. That World Economic Forum banker is your controlled opposition. Yeah. That's your opposition right there on your northern border. Everybody knows he's a globalist banker. So this globalist banker went to Canada and became prime minister, whatever the hell they got, president, prime minister, whatever. What do y'all Canadians have? I know some of y'all watch me from Canada. In fact, let me ask you guys this question. How many of you who watch me who are in Canada actually voted for this clown? I find it hard to believe that he actually won the election. Based on everything we know about voter theft and voter fraud, I find it hard to believe that the Canadian people are that dumb to put somebody in behind Trudeau that's going to continue to do what Trudeau did. If that is what you guys did, then that's what you deserve. But I find it hard to believe after all the protests and the farmers going out and putting manure all over the place that the actual citizens of Canada did that. But what is easy to believe is because of the open border policies of Canada, and because if we saw them giving out IDs and social security numbers and everything else in America, there is no Doge there. There's no Donald Trump for Canada. So what I do find it very easy to believe is that they got illegal aliens voting. I find it easy to believe that the nonprofits there are doing the exact same thing in America that in Canada that they tried to do in America. That would make sense as to why he got in office. That there's voter integrity issues in Canada. But I don't live in Canada. It ain't none of my damn business. The only point I'm making is this. That is controlled opposition. And based on everything we've seen, we should expect there to be a battle with that controlled opposition. Point blank, period. Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal Party claimed victory in Canada's federal election on Monday night, with the former banker using his victory speech to grimly warn Canadians Trump is trying to break us. Yeah, he gonna break you. Ain't trying to, he gonna break you. In his address before the supporters of Ottawa, AP reports Carney stressed the importance of Canadian unity in the face of what he perceived as Washington's threats. Committed globalist Carney further claimed that the mutually beneficial system Canada and U.S. had shared since World War II had ended in betrayal by Washington, saying, "We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lesson. As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, and our country. They are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so America can own us. That will never, ever happen. But we also must recognize the reality that our world has fundamentally changed." Well, I'll tell you what. If China, ladies and gentlemen, is struggling under tariffs, and I want to be clear with you, the little tariffs that brought in $15 billion that everybody said wasn't going to work, that brought in $15 billion. I promise you, once Donald gets China in check, and you'll see China get in check when we finally ink a deal with somebody like India for manufacturing, a tariff deal with India. And you already see that, quote unquote, supposedly the war is coming to an end. Zelensky's supposed to sign a deal for minerals on next Wednesday, but I don't really believe nothing from Zelensky's mouth. But nonetheless, here's what we're going to see. The minute China is done, they're going to get hit with tariffs. He gonna reach out to Carney. They're going to have a conversation. Carney going to get to talking crazy. And he going, wham. Everybody else is going to stay at 10 because it's clear to see what his strategy is at this point in time. Let me put everybody at this base level and let me hit this one person. And let me turn all these people against this one person. But let me make an example out of China. Once the example has been made out of China, nobody else is finna play these games. Carney can play if he wants to. He can pretend. He can talk tough, but he'll fold like a somebody playing with a 2-3 in a game of poker. Texas Hold'em. You got 2 of spades and a 3 of hearts. You fold it. You better fold as soon as you see them cards in your hand. You ain't doing nothing. That's what's going to happen to Carney. But nonetheless, he still controlled opposition. 100% controlled opposition. And here's the crazy thing. There are people who are paid controlled opposition. Then there's just people who's stupid. They just dumb. You know what I'm saying? They're just dumb. And so they become controlled opposition. For example, Neil Young, dumb. Neil Young rages at Elon Musk and latest hippie rock song, "If you're a fascist, get a Tesla." He just dumb. He's just dumb. Ain't nobody paying him to be stupid. He just dumb. But even those little pawns that just do stupid crap, they still play a role in this. In the end, it all multiplies and it all adds up. It really does. More controlled opposition. Watch this. Trump destroys ABC hack reporter in explosive interview. They're giving you a big break, the big break of a lifetime. I picked you because frankly, I never heard of you. I would like to see the video of this.
And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
sir. He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that.
And this is the stupidity of these people. We'll go to the next section, but before we go to this is how you know it's controlled opposition. I mean, just think about it for a second. ABC News, what's this guy's name? Terry Morin. None of us ever heard of Terry Morin, right? Terry Morin had an opportunity. He could have pressed Donald Trump on the Garcia dude, which I'm so tired of hearing his name. He could have pressed him. He could have pressed him in a non-combative way. What I'm seeing right there was extremely combative. He could have pressed him in a non-combative way. He could have looped him. He could have smoothed it. He could have made it to where it was an interview where the president would say, okay, I'll talk to Morin again. Right? To Moron again. But no, Morin is a moron. He goes into the Oval Office and decides he's going to go on the attack. He decides to go to the Oval Office and go to attack. Well, you could pick up the phone and you could call him and get him back. He ain't got to pick up nothing. They said facilitate. If they decide they're going to release him, then he can facilitate it. I'm not about to call and bring back no terrorists. You're crazy. I'm not doing it. And I don't blame him because I wouldn't give you that victory. I said this over and over and over again. When the controlled opposition judges tell the president what he must do, then I would say, go get your army, go get your police and come arrest me. Get your DOJ to come get me. Get your Navy to come get me. Get your Army to come get me. Get your Air Force to come get me. Who you gonna get come get me? Get your federal marshals to come get me. Who you got? They ain't got nobody.
Murderers, criminals in this country We have to get him out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert.
That's crazy. Like, it's crazy to sit there. You want to see controlled opposition? That's controlled opposition. It's crazy to sit there and try and overtalk the president of the United States. To cut him off and say, moving on. Like he a dog. You want to see controlled opposition? There it is right in front of you. That whole White House press room with all those reporters, majority of those people are controlled opposition. Because when he gets to the truth of the photographs and the tattoos, now we need to move on. Oh, I'm not an expert on that. Well, Trick, if you weren't an expert on it, why did you bring it up? Why did you bring Albrego Garcia up if you're not an expert on it? Logically, you're going to lead to the tattoos. So why you brought him up? They're lucky I'm not president. Because I'd be like, hold on, stop. You're not going to talk to me like I'm some kind of puppy. Moving on. And you're not going to cut me off. What you're going to do is you're going to sit there and you're going to let me finish saying what I got to say. That would have been that. If he would have kept on going, in the interview. Bring me in ABC. Y'all get into the White House when you can bring somebody that's got some common sense.
I want to turn to Ukraine,
No,
sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had
Terry, no.
MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're
in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
That's what controlled opposition looks like, ladies and gentlemen. And everybody else, this person's controlled opposition. That person controlled opposition. I'll show you some conservative controlled opposition look like in a second.
The fighting. Don't forget.
You think he wants peace? You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does, yes. I think he does. I think
even with the raining missiles
I think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo.
all right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me
No,
just
I am
tell
not,
you,
sir.
I don't trust a lot of people. But I do think this. I think that let's say he respects me. And I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine. Okay. It's a war that never should have happened.
Controlled opposition. It's so simple, guys. When we start talking about what controlled opposition is, as long as we stay away from the psychological operation, which is designed to give you, the people who pay attention, to turn on actually the good guys, then you're fine. Now, am I saying there are not people on social media who are controlled opposition that have taken up spaces and positions where they have conservative talking points? No. There are people who are actually controlled opposition across the spectrum. It's across the spectrum. But that's not detected by a purity test. It's not detected based on feelings and emotions. Well, this person said this. 30 years ago. No. It's based on actions. And more importantly, you know a man by his enemies. So when you sit back and you look and you see, like there's people who say Donald Trump has controlled opposition. You done bumped your head and lost your mind. Elon Musk has controlled opposition. You done lost your mind. Men don't put up their fortunes and lose the type of money these men lose just for the hell of it. They don't take the type of attacks that these men take and live through the type of persecution that they live through because they're controlled opposition. No, that's their opponent trying to kill them. Imagine if John F. Kennedy survived the assassination attempt. If JFK didn't get his wig split wide open during an assassination attempt, people would be saying that JFK was controlled opposition. I mean, there's people who said Donald Trump because they didn't hit him, it meant he was controlled opposition. I mean, that's how crazy this is. I mean, that we have to judge men on what they do. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. We got to judge men on the actions that they take, and more importantly, the fruit. We have to be fruit inspectors, ladies and gentlemen, to see what fruit the person is bearing. And you inspect the fruit, you see good fruit, then the tree is good. For example, we can inspect the fruit of the tree of Joe Biden. I ain't seen no good fruit on a Joe Biden tree whatsoever. As a black man, I know what he did with the crime bill, him and Clinton. There wasn't no damn good fruit on them trees. In fact, it's blood apples on them trees. You bite that apple and blood come up out of it. And it really boils down to common sense. People complicate these things.
A very good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in
I don't have 100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
it's a pretty important position.
I have no. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
Oh my God, you gotta love this dude. You gotta love his raw realness. He said, only a liar would tell I have 100% confidence. I don't even have 100% confidence we'll finish this interview. And guys, that's what they can't handle about Donald Trump. Now, we're not gonna go into well, I was gonna go into the Dems who said they was gonna stay in El Salvador, which by now I'm pretty sure they left because they're a bunch of liars. But I'm going to go to Ron Paul. Senator Rand Paul said he has the votes to block Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. White House fires back, threatens veto. Now, you want to see controlled opposition? You want to see controlled opposition? Why, out of all the battles to fight, out of all the things going on, first of all, his dad won the nomination. And they punked his daddy. Remember? His daddy won the nomination. And the deep state punked him out of his nomination. Now you come out, you and your Paul come out, and y'all say y'all against tariffs because you're purists. And you're going to go and block the tariffs that's bringing in $15.9 billion. So when I see controlled opposition, this is what I see as controlled opposition. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you made a 180-degree turn on everything. Everything. 180-degree turn on everything that you stood for. And that's not in fact, stop. Pause. Do the beanie weenie. Rewind. Let's be clear. That would be me lying on Rand Paul and his daddy. They've always not liked tariffs. Let's be clear. They've always, in all fairness, they've always not liked tariffs. But you ain't find them come out the corner to stop no tariffs at all. Like he coming out the corner now. Now you got the votes to block it. And I'm going to say this. You're watching, and if he makes this move, you're going to watch the fall of Rand Paul and the Paul brand and politics as a whole. If he's that dumb and that stupid to come out against the tariffs that's been pitched and sold as a way for the middle class not to pay taxes, You are going to watch this brand, this family name, fall like a rock. Like we took a brick and threw it up in the air, and we counted to 3. It's coming right back down. Yeah. So we got deep staters, we got rhinos, which they never really seem to be rhinos, but now you siding with the Democratic Party. You see, it takes that pressure. It takes that pressure for you to see the truth. I want y'all to keep your eye on this. You're gonna realize I'm telling you the truth. Keep your eyes on Rand Paul. Keep your eyes on Ron Paul. Every time they talk, go listen to what they say. And then listen to the justification of what they're saying. Why is this chest squeaking? Stop the squeaking. I want you. Go pay attention. Please pay attention. Come on, you got a bipartisan bill. Man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I'm done. I'll see y'all in the morning.